So Fox News is going crazy over California's plan to ban the sale of gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So check out the crying and the gnashing of the teeth on Fox News over California's requirement that for new cars, they cannot be gas-powered if they are sold in California after 2035. This is big news and a big step in the right direction toward us achieving our climate targets. But Fox News is going crazy. You'd think that everybody's opposed to getting electric cars and that the car companies are opposed to this, when in fact, that's not the case. Research demonstrates that actually the car makers are generally in favor of this regulation. Why? Because they were planning on going all electric by 2035 anyway. What's more is that a poll last year showed that Americans by a 55 to 35 margin, a more than 20-point margin, support the transition from gas cars to electric cars. So the people favor the transition to electric cars. So just who's opposed to it? Well, that would be the oil companies. Let's check out this video here.
Joining us now is former California Assemblyman who left the state for the great state of Texas, Chuck DeVore, who joins us now. Chuck, great to see you this morning. What do you think about this target and this goal, 2035, no more gas-powered vehicles for sale?
Well, Will,
Well, number one, let me be clear about this. This is new vehicles. You don't have to get rid of your old gas-powered vehicle, and used vehicles that are gas-powered can still be sold in California after 2035. So I think it's important to note this is only dealing with new cars. Let's keep watching.
I think it's actually going to happen because, as you mentioned, the costs are higher, and when those costs start to be borne by actual voters, there's likely going to be...
Okay, number one, the costs are higher right now because of the fact that so few of the vehicles that are made are actually gas-powered. Once the automakers have fully transitioned over to making electric cars, or even not fully, once they're making more electric vehicles, then they get the economies of scale which bring down the cost of them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, with the incentives that were included in the Inflation Reduction Act, purchasing many electric vehicles are about the same cost as for gas vehicles. And number three, according to a study, which of course I'll link to down below, over the lifetime of a vehicle, and that's even before there are any tax incentives, and that's before the automakers reduce the costs by manufacturing more vehicles, over the lifetime of a vehicle, you actually spend no more money on an electric vehicle than you do on a gas vehicle. Why is that? Well, because charging your electric vehicle costs a lot less than filling it up with gas. Boy, isn't that a surprise. Let's watch some more.
Revolt. And there's a lot of hidden costs that people don't think about. For example, California's electrical grid is already terribly overburdened today. They're having increasing problems with blackouts. Well, you put 2 million new electric vehicles on the road every year, and not only will that incur a cost of about $300 a year more for the average ratepayer, it's going to put a lot more strain on that California grid.
Yeah, $300 or more for the average ratepayer, but they won't be paying for gas. So that's going to be a savings in the long run. Again, this study shows that it costs less to run an electric vehicle than it does a gas vehicle. And they talk about the hidden expenses. What about the hidden savings that you get from electric vehicles? Electric vehicles have a lot fewer parts than gas vehicles. As a result, they're much more reliable. You don't have so much maintenance costs. So they're kind of stacking the deck here and trying to get people all worked up about it. Let's keep watching.
I don't think they can handle it. I don't think they've prepared for it, Will.
Yeah, they haven't prepared for it, but they don't have to do it right now. This is going to be over 13 years that this transition happens. A lot can be accomplished in 13 years. Let's keep watching.
Mention how is that electricity produced? It's produced with fossil fuels. Meanwhile, by the way,
it comes out of a plug in the wall, Will.
Okay, let's be clear about something. About 40% of the emissions in California, for instance, come from the transportation sector. Part of the reason for that is most vehicles are oil-powered. Oil has a significantly larger amount of carbon in it than natural gas. So even if they are using fossil fuels to generate electricity, by using natural gas, they're actually producing a lot less of the problematic greenhouse gases. Let's keep watching.
Oh, I forgot. Just simply a plug in the wall and probably a big windmill on the other end. 20 million.
In many cases, there is a windmill on the other end. As it turns out, there are lots of ways to generate electricity that do not produce carbon. Let's keep watching.
People are behind on their electric bills. It's $16 billion owed by U.S. households right now, Chuck, who are late on their energy bills. And you talk about this when it comes to California, a strained electrical grid. So if you're phasing out gas vehicles, everybody's plugging in. How do you avoid brownouts, blackouts, a grid that's shut down?
So, Will, these problems are connected. The reason why so many millions of Americans are...
Boy, they're really reaching here to try to find something to complain about, because of the fact that I've got to tell you, I drive a hybrid, but that being said, I'd much rather be just paying for electricity for my car rather than having to gas it up every once in a while. Let's continue watching.
They're behind on their electricity payments, and we're seeing electricity go up by more than the rate of inflation under Biden. Only part of it has to do with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The prices of natural gas were soaring prior to the invasion, and they're soaring.
Yes, the reason the prices were going up is because they were coming from a low as a result of everything being shut down during COVID. I just can't understand why we have to keep arguing this point over and over again. Let's keep watching.
Because of Biden's much vaunted energy transition. They're imposing higher costs on the fossil fuel industry. It makes it more difficult and more expensive to take oil and gas out of the ground here in America. So that's number one. Number two, the other thing that's happening is the more wind and solar you get on the grid, the more expensive the grid gets because you need more expensive backup supplies to be standing around for when it's not windy and it's not summer. Things like huge battery farms or natural gas plants that remain idle for much of the day and then only operate for a few hours to keep that grid up. These cost a lot of money, Will.
I don't even know what to do with that. This is pure speculation by somebody who knows nothing about what he's talking about. Let's just ignore that whole comment there. Let's keep watching.
Yes, they do, and they cost money to the average American. Chuck, DeVore, great to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the biggest thing that I come away with from that is just how desperate they are to try to find something that they can complain about with electric vehicles. Electric vehicles overall are cleaner, cheaper, they drive better, and most people want them. What's to dislike? Now we're giving them tax incentives to make it more affordable to buy them. So they really have to reach to find something to complain about. Well, unfortunately, when you're talking about electric cars, one thing you have a hard time forgetting about is Elon Musk, the controversial head of Tesla. Well, I did a video a little while ago where I talked about how Elon Musk is probably America's worst boss. Why don't you check it out over here? I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.